Welcome everybody to the War and Peace Baseball Podcast. Here today with Alex Rudy Ray Estrada. I'm Alex Uwe. How are we all doing today?
Good. I lost in my managerial debut at the collegiate level, so
you know, I think you're the only one of us who's even on the records sheet there. So I think that's still better than us. But I will inform you that you have the worst win-loss percentage of all of us. So I'm gonna hold that over for you for a while. That is until
also the best since best and worst.
No, there's no way it's the best. You're just the worst is what I've decided.
Thanks for trying. I appreciate the effort, Ray.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. I think there's some teams out there that could definitely use an upgrade. So you should make some phone calls and see if you can get a nice job with a nice major league team that's looking to can their manager.
I feel like the Phillies can't do worse with me.
Brad Ausmus is really on thin ice here. You could.
I feel like that guy was on thin ice when he was hired.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's every year he's on the hot seat. It seems.
Yeah, and those are fun jobs to have.
Drafted over Derek Jeter. It's been downhill since then.
His whole life basically since then. All right, let's go and talk about some actual baseball news here. That's what we do here, right? I think that's what we should be talking about. And it seems like we talk about the same teams every week, but that's because we have to, because they're still playing really well. And that would be the Rockies this time around. Nolan Arenado, really just, was like the moment of their season so far. He had a walk-off home run to complete a cycle in order to sweep the Giants in a 4-game series sweep they got over the Giants at home. So yeah, I think that's about the highest point the Rockies could achieve in the regular season. And what do we think about them in terms of what they do going forward? I ask this every time, and they keep staying up really high up there. So, what do you guys think is going to be the key for the Rockies here?
I think it'll be interesting to watch this week. They play the Diamondbacks in a 3-game set starting Tuesday, tomorrow from the time of this recording. Tuesday through Thursday, they play the Diamondbacks for 3. So I think that's the real battle in the NL West. I think the Dodgers are the one. If not all 3 stay up there, Dodgers are the one for sure who's going to stay up there. And this is the D-backs and the Rockies is going to be the 2 teams to watch and saying who might fall off, who could fall off out of those 2. But I mean, as far as the Rockies are concerned, they just keep hitting and their pitching keeps holding up. I think obviously the key to success is exactly that. And I mean, unless Coors Field catches up to all their pitchers, I think they're going to be a good team, at least a good team for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that overall. One thing that kind of worries me is that their offense really hasn't been as hitting as well as they should be, considering they play in Coors Field and how talented they are. Cargo, for example, has had a pretty slow start to the year so far, and the Blackman and Arenado are carrying them more than I think the average fan may realize. And then at the same time, they're hitting absurdly well with runners in scoring position. Like it's irrationally excessive how well they're pulling off. It's pretty reminiscent of the 2014 Cardinals, who seemed to use Alan Craig as a clutch hitter in every single game to win before he dropped off the face of the earth and entered minor league purgatory. It's just unsustainable, especially if the rest of the lineup doesn't pick it up how well they're scoring with runners on base compared to their just general offense with no runners on, and especially when you factor in with Coors, they're only like the 13th best offense in the league, or might be in the NL. And if anything, they're pitching, especially their starters at home, surprisingly, and more than anything, their bullpen's carrying them. And their bullpen, while those guys have been good in the past, have had some rocky couple of recent seasons. Holland, major injuries. McGee took a while to adjust, and I don't know how much you can, it's always, you always have to be careful relying overly on a good bullpen because, I mean, we'll get to this next, but the Yankees slump, have been relying on their, under the radar, been relying on their bullpen all year because none of their starters can go deep, and now that Chapman went out, they've been starting to suffer. He's back now, but they suffered a lot without that extra guy and having to throw some less proven relievers in important situations.
Yeah, and if anything, I think what you said about the Rockies' offense makes them the case for, their ability to maintain this, because they're doing all this despite not having a lot of their big bats producing. They don't have Carlos Gonzalez, going right now, and he can really.
Well, they also have Mark Reynolds hitting like the best of his career at age 33. That's not going to last.
Well, I mean, we said that he had a very nice season last year, but I think the Rockies' offense is not even the biggest. It's not even a concern because it's been underperforming even. And we talked about runners in scoring position. I think they lead the league in 2-out runs driven in. So obviously these are important things to look at in terms of how well they can maintain this. I think what we've learned in the past is that Coors Field always catches up with pitchers. It's not a matter of if it does, it's a matter of when it does. And I think that pitchers are definitely going to struggle. And I think that with Bud Black as the manager, I think that's the perfect guy you need there to kind of
Very
navigate these
Hellsman.
shaky waters, especially for these pitchers, learning how to battle through these times where they're going to give up 4 or 5 runs in a game early on, and you just have to learn how to stop the bleeding early. And I think that might be the difference this year, if the Rockies can just bear down a little bit more and give their bats a chance. And that's normally where it all goes downhill, is they just can't hold games down, and especially later in the season. I don't know if anybody remembers last year when the Rockies were in legitimate playoff contention in, like, I want to say it was as late as August even. And then, right around the peak of that news, like when they were making big headlines, they really just started coughing up so many games. Not because they were playing like worse, their position players were doing any worse, or their starting pitching was worse. It was just they could not seem to hold down these games. They just let too many get away from them, especially in the late innings, where they had a much weaker bullpen at the time. So obviously that's a big plus now with the guys they have.
This team definitely feels a little bit better than that one, but I think bearing an unprecedented collapse, they're going to make the playoffs in some capacity, but I don't think they're as good as they've showed so far overall.
Yeah, I mean, they got to beat the teams in their division, like Ray said. They have to take down the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. They can't rely on I don't think all 3 of these teams are going to be that far ahead of the pack the entire year. It's like the Indians. The Indians made the playoffs because they knew how to beat teams in their division. And that's what it really took for them. So yeah, I think they can definitely handle that going forward. Let's get into some news that makes me sad anyway. Let's talk about the Yankees' past road trip here. Thank God it's over. Let me just say that much right now. It's been a rough time for their major league club, and just recently they found out that they're losing their top prospect, Gleyber Torres, for the rest of the season, having Tommy John surgery on his left arm, his non-throwing arm, after a slide at the plate. He tweaked his elbow. What is the number one item on the panic agenda here for the Yankees? There's a lot of things to point out. What do you think is at the tippy top of this list, Rudy?
You
can't pick just one.
So many options. No, I mean, what do you have something in mind?
Well, I don't think it's Torres for to say that first and foremost. It's really upsetting, but it's not gonna hurt them too much this year. You've mentioned the bullpen,
it's his non-throwing arm. I think is worth mentioning. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I did mention that.
It's kind of sorry. Which I don't know what that means. I've never even heard of a position player. I've never really heard of any player injuring their non-throwing arm for Tommy John. I have no idea what that does. I read that like Rafael Furcal and Zach Cozart are the last 2 big shortstops to have those injuries, and I don't think those really were that detrimental to their careers. I mean, Cozart's awesome this year, so clearly he came back at least eventually from it. And Furcal was always injury prone. I mean, yeah, but I don't think
he had another
really
major
supposed
injury.
to be a highly touted hitter.
He had another major injury too in there.
He was always a defense first guy, and then Furcal was always an injury plagued player. So who knows how much that affected him? If anything, that was in the middle of his resurgence, his second, career. So. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. The bullpen really the Yankees non-star bullpen, which is when you have Warren, who's a very dependable. The Betances and Chapman is very worrisome, and I don't know if people realize that. Yes, the whole club is overperforming, but really the thing that weighs them down and separates them, and it's going to bite them for the rest of the year more than guys regressing or surprise guys going one way or the other, is really that. The Clippard and the boys just do terrible in high leverage situation. If there's a close game and Clippard and the rest of the generic white guys that the Yankees clone in some New Jersey off-base illegal facility and bring in, if they're in, the game's pretty much over because they will find a way to give up the lead. You really saw it especially bad during the 6-game losing streak where I think 4 of those 6 games were at least at some point very close. Tanaka threw a terrible outing, one of them, and I think someone else, one of the other starts, laid a goose egg. But past that, all those starters had at least kept the game close. Even fucking Luis Cessna didn't even pitch that awful, and the bullpen just doesn't give the offense a chance. And as good as this Yankees offense is this year, you can't just expect them to carry the team every single game.
Yeah, and I'm going to say starting pitching. I'm going to go on the other end of that spectrum there is the biggest problem because their bullpen is what it is. But I think there's nobody that can really be the guy for them. We've seen it with Tanaka. He can't be the guy in a big game apparently. Your momentum as a team is as good as your next starter, and they don't have that guy. Luis Severino is probably the closest thing they have to being able to do that just because his stuff is so pure. But, Pineda is all over the place sometimes. He's really good so far. But, I think there's problems there for sure. But, as a whole, I don't think a lot of their the problems that we saw over this road trip are going to last too much longer. Aside from those, their offense is still really, really good. So I'm not worried about that at all.
They really, if they want to make the playoffs, they're going to have to really deeply consider making a midseason trade or two and sacrificing a little bit of their really huge minor league depth. They have more than they could ever use, to be honest, considering they can buy free agents and a lot of the guys already performing this year are young. You might want to take a Blake Rutherford, who is a great top prospect, but might not really have anywhere to play, and flip him for I don't know, like a Jose Quintana or a Mike Moustakas, and get something now that can help you for the rest of the season and is either signed to a decent deal going forward or isn't impossible to re-sign.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there. We won't get too much into the trade deadline stuff right now. It's still June after all, but I think that's it for our Yankees portion of this podcast today. So let's go ahead and let Ray have his moment in the sun here and talk about his new favorite player. Yeah,
so that's not too far off of a good assumption. Cody Bellinger, he hit another multi-home run game today with 2 in the win against the Mets. So he has 21 on the year, and that sets the record for most home runs in a player's first 51 games in his career. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about him. I just want to mention it because you guys threw the Yankee stuff in there. But he is just unreal. And you look at his splits, he's better against lefties. And for my analysis is the fact that is how he pulls the ball. He's not a throw the hit wide open pull hitter. He almost looks like Jose Altuve, how he gets around the ball, how he can surround the ball. So that's explains why he's so good against lefties, because he's not opening up against lefties. He's going out and getting that ball and getting around it. And so I think that's a very successful swing type in terms of a young lefty power hitter. He covers a lot of the zone, and so obviously he's got power in that bat. Covers a lot of the zone, and so I think it's a very solid swing. And he's going to be here for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's really hard on a podcast to do a breakdown of somebody's swing. I really do enjoy looking at player swings and trying to identify what really works with their swings and what doesn't. But I think what would be an easier thing right now to do anyway is ask the question: can he double this? Can he have a 40-homer season in his rookie year? I mean, obviously, the answer is yes, he can. He's on pace to, but is it going to happen? Because obviously, I don't care who you are. As a rookie, you're going to have some sort of regression and adjustment period. And it might not be that severe, but it's going to happen. Do you think Bellinger has the makeup to have that kind of magical season where he just becomes an MVP candidate, basically?
I think he does, because, I mean, he had a little stretch where you didn't hear about him all that much. He wasn't hitting, he wasn't lighting up the stat sheets like when he came on, and then he got hot again. So I feel like he's had at least a small regression, and he's bounced back from that. But I wouldn't say he's not going to have a larger regression, more profound regression in terms of pace for home runs. But I think it's within a very possible realm that he could hit 40 plus home runs this year and get himself into that conversation.
Yeah, I agree. Hitting lefties is big, and Bellinger's doing it all. So yeah, we've
Can I
talked.
ask just two questions about him just before we move on?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
You just think just going forward. Obviously, he's an incredible athlete and really advanced hitter for his age, and there's no reason to expect this being fluky by any means. He is just a beast, a current and future superstar. But just curious, you guys think that the fact that he's a pretty unorthodox swinging style, and he really seems to rely on pulling the ball, do you think going forward that will lead to any weakness that pitchers will be able to exploit?
No, because like I said, the way he pulls the ball is not an open up and pull it. He surrounds the ball. So
right, but I mean,
I don't think so, because I think we've seen in today's game that the talk about being able to hit the ball at all fields being very important is just not very true in today's context. And he's young, he's athletic, his swing is repeatable. I don't care how unorthodox the swing is; it's repeatable, and he has a great feel for it, and that's the most important part with any swing. And he has the athleticism. You're not going to see a regression in bat speed, at least for a long time, for this guy. So no, he seems to be very comfortable and have a consistent approach. We'll see how he adjusts when pitchers adjust more, but the swing itself, I don't think there's any problem there. And do you have any other questions? You said you had one more question, right?
No, that was it.
No,
that was it too.
Did we answer it sufficiently?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to imply that he was at risk of some unexploited weakness, but his approach is definitely one that I haven't seen a young player really use in a long time. It's kind of nice to see a guy kind of go up there and do what he wants and succeed extremely well.
More information out there than ever before, and we see that a lot with young and old players. So yeah, I think we've got our fill for the two teams we seem to talk about every single podcast. That would be the Yankees and Dodgers. Let's talk about a few teams that are really laying low right now, but making a little bit of progress in the standings here that nobody seems to be paying attention to. First team we'll talk about is the Kansas City Fight Club. They're back, and they're only 3 games back, 3.5 games actually, in the Central. And this is a team where everybody seems to be saying, "Oh, they're done. Their dynasty is ruined. It's over." And here they are right now in realistically playoff contention at this point in the season with a really lackluster team, as everybody seems to say. So, what are the Royals doing successfully here to keep them in it so far?
I think it's really just Cain and Moustakas being absurdly hot recently. I'm sorry. We saw them in person, on Saturday when they lost 8-0 to the Angels. I just don't see how they have enough starting pitching to really keep this going, and I don't see how, in the end, I know I'm always the Debbie Downer, but at some point or another, aren't the Indians going to start running away with this division again? Is there really any way at the Fight Club, really turn this back around sufficiently to make the playoffs? I mean, they started off absurdly bad, and I don't think anyone really thought they were as bad as their record showed before this hot streak. I don't know. To me, it just kind of feels like them returning to the mean than, truly coming back into long-term form going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still a game below 500, even though they're 3.5 back in their division, game back at the wild card. But yeah,
the division is so awful.
Yeah, Cain and Moustakas are hot. That's why they've won eight out of their last 10. But I don't see them really jumping up into major contention.
Yeah, and I think this is the same conversation we had back in, 2014 or 2015 when they really made their first big playoff push. And, that was really with a unknown roster of guys that seemed like they had no business making a playoff push, and they just did for some reason. They kept winning games because their defense was so good and their pitching was winning them so many one-run games with their bullpen. I don't see that happening with this set of guys. I just don't see it, even though a lot of them are the same. We did see that we saw them in person. To be fair, Alex Meyer in that game for the Angels was really dealing and shutting them down. But
was he though? He was just throwing sliders in the dirt, and they looked really unmotivated.
I did watch
game,
some.
But I was
the,
pretty
highlights.
unimpressed.
I watched some of the highlights from Meyer after the game, and it's hard to
dirty.
tell while you're there. It was working pretty well for him. He was commanding the zone pretty well.
He only went like 5 1/3 though.
Well, yeah, because he's a young pitcher.
And
that's just what you do nowadays.
Too. It's not like the Angels have a touted, all-star bullpen. I mean, they have some good arms, but it's nothing that is just bulletproof.
I don't think any of us here, are really making a case for the Royals. I'm trying to, point out that it's not always about who has the best roster, because it just sometimes isn't.
That's true.
And I think, the Indians did retake first place. They look like they're about to run away with it. Edwin is heating up, and the Parrots getting to see the sun a little bit more nowadays. I think that the Royals are not a serious contender. And I'm also going to go ahead and say right now that I don't think the Angels are a serious contender. That was another team that I wanted to bring up here. They're one back in the wild card at the moment, which is otherwise commanded by the AL East teams that are in the mix. But I don't think the Angels really have a legitimate case, just because they don't have Mike Trout for at least a little longer. Probably, I'm willing to bet not till the All-Star game. I don't see why they'd push him back before the All-Star game. They just don't have anything. They don't have any depth in their minor league system. I do really like some of the moves they made in the offseason to kind of hold them over, but it's not a good supporting cast for the superstar. You guys disagree about the Angels? Do you guys feel the same way for the most part?
I'm really impressed how well they've played without Trout, to be honest, because they could have totally just said, fuck this.
Yeah.
We're done with this season. Who cares? And we'll give credit to Cameron Maybin and Calhoun and Eric Young Jr. for holding down the outfield and playing really well, honestly, without him. But everyone else, and Alex Myers really kind of showing why he at one point was considered one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. But past those 4 guys and a bullpen, like I said, which isn't lights out, but there's talent there.
I think you need to Andrelton Simmons' name in there too. He's really playing well.
I knew I was missing someone. He's really showed that he's not just all glove, and that he does have a bat running the base as well for the first time in his career. Which is so those guys, but at the same time, I think the rest of the roster is just so uninspiring. You have Danny Espinosa playing every day, hitting 162, and Pujols, I know, is hitting some home runs, but he looks awful on the base paths. And there's just not enough there. The rest of the rotation is just not dependable in any way. They have no one to bring up to give them more support. I mean, I will say the future looks more optimistic than I would have said at the start of this year. And but there's just no way it could be enough to make a playoff push, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the reason I like them mediocre more now is because the pickups they made in the offseason are going to be really valuable trade chips, I think. They have some really, they haven't had these kinds of pieces to move, in the past couple of years. I can absolutely see them trying to trade Mabin or, even like Cam Bedrosian, Bud Norris. They've emerged as some really solid relief pitchers for them. They have trade chips now. That's important. One more team that I want to talk about that we seem to never talk about is the Tampa Bay Rays, sitting 4 back in the division, and they hold a wild card spot at the moment. So the Rays, I think we've talked about a little bit in the past, but really, what are they doing? They're just hitting. That's really all they're doing. They're just hitting like crazy right now.
The Rays, I mean, they've always had decent pieces, just nobody who really jumps out at you, and nobody who's going to really carry a team. Longoria is not that guy. He's a very good player, but he's not a guy who can carry an offense. But Dickerson being as great as he is this year, Logan Morrison's hitting a lot of home runs, and the pitch Souza's hot
as well.
Kiermaier was decent before he went down with a hip injury. So I mean, it seems like I've been paying closer attention to this team more than you guys have over the past few years. They've had decent offensive pieces, just they haven't performed like this in the past. And the pitching is holding up. Colomé is a very good closer at the back end. Archer is a lot better than last year, and Odorizzi is hit and miss, really.
He's been horrendous this year. I'm going to have to disagree with that. I followed him really closely. He's been he's been atrocious. I'm going to have to say He's been more than it. He had a decent April, but the past month and a half, he's been, in my opinion, sadly, one of the worst pitchers in baseball. But I will agree the rest of the staff has been and Andrisi's been hit and miss, and so has Cobb, but they've been effective enough, and they have that rookie pitcher who's been awesome in his 3 starts. Yeah, so I will say, excluding Odorizzi, all those guys, they haven't been lights out, but I will agree they've been more than good enough. They've been adequate, and in like a year where pitching in general has been down, that's enough. If you have guys just being adequate.
Yeah, I think as far as the Rays are concerned, I don't think they contend for the division, but I think they can certainly contend for the wild card. I think they're built for that.
I think it's worth pointing out that this is a young rotation that doesn't feature Jose De Leon and Blake Snell at the moment, and those are 2 really big pieces. Also, Brent Honeywell. They have help on the way, and really, really soon it seems. So that's really, comforting for young. They're not a young staff anymore. I think with the addition of these guys later in the season, they can be a lot stronger with that pitching. And I think the offense, there's a lot to like here with some of these emerging players. I think Logan Morrison is really a guy to keep your eye on, because he definitely seems like he's healthy for the first time in a long time, and he's just in a groove. Sometimes it takes a lot to knock a guy like that out of a groove. So keep watching the balls fly out of the ballpark from him. I hope I did not just jinx him into missing the next 3 months with an injury or something. But that's what we do here. We make predictions and then we're very wrong about them. But
Corey
I like
Rasmus
the Rays.
has also been really good.
Yeah, he has been.
Tim Beckham's finally demonstrated, at least to some degree, why he was the number 1 overall draft pick.
Tim Beckham left with it after he got hit on the hand today. Left the game.
Wow, you just jinxed him, Rudy. Way to go.
He's been good, but
yeah, I mean, I think this has always been a club that is undoubtedly one of the best ran at baseball, and just unfortunately has never had the payroll to really let it achieve its true potential, except for that one magical 2010 season. And they've been rebuilding for
2008, right?
Competitively.
Yeah, 2008.
2008, sorry. Rebuilding competitively the past few years. And now I think they have another group going forward that looks really promising all around. And unfortunately, they, like our beloved Yankees, play in the division of death, where the worst team is one game under 500.
Yeah, the Orioles and the Blue Jays both a game under right now.
And the Orioles were at one point this season in first place. So it just goes to show you that division is just absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I want to also throw out Wilson Ramos coming back soon. He's been rehabbing and playing in some minor league games. So that's a big catcher bat right there that they could be getting. I don't think the Rays can make the playoffs in this division. It's such a tight division. They could definitely fight for that second wild card, but there's no real security there. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the All-Star Game. I don't know if any of you guys realize that the All-Star Game buyouts have been open for like almost 2 months now, and
they open them so early. It's absurd. Yeah. We actually talk about that for a second. It's really weird how early they open. Like, that should not be just something that like is accepted by everyone. Like, they're open like in like the end of April, I think.
I think the worst thing about it is that they've been open for so long. I just don't realize, oh yeah, I can vote for the All-Star Game now, because I'm just like, oh, it's way too early when they open it.
You can vote 5 times a day for like 3 months before the game actually occurs. That's just doesn't make sense.
There's I like it in that you don't like. It's dynamic. It's not just like you can just pick the hot hands at the end of the first half, which definitely could happen. But there's obviously there's a lot of problems with fan voting anyway. So that's not.
Shout out to Royals.
Shout out to the Royals and the Cubs fans out there right now, doing work. So there's some players that I definitely want to talk about that should be getting a good look at the All-Star Game, but probably won't. Honestly, like they're just not in any. They're just not ballot-worthy names, it seems, for the fan voting anyway. The first one that I want to talk about is Jake Lamb, who everybody knows is good now. And I think everybody just kind of accepted, oh yeah, he's good. But people don't really understand that this guy has emerged, like fully emerged. He's one of the most solid third baseman out there right now. He's driving in everybody for that team. He still leads the league in RBIs. And, it's crazy how he's fourth in National League third base voting right now, I think. Is he fourth or fifth? I think he might be fifth even. Yeah, he's fifth. He's behind Chris Bryant, Nolan Arenado, Justin Turner, and Anthony Rendon. All really good players, but Jake Lamb is definitely looking like the guy who deserves it. Have you guys followed Jake Lamb at all in the last couple of years?
That guy is such an underrated monster. It's ridiculous. He's so good, but no one cares. It's so sad.
It's because he's in Arizona, and Arizona's been so bad the last couple of years. Yeah, I'm surprised with Arizona's emergence as a good team, although this is East Coast bias at its finest. I mean, nobody really is paying attention to how just how good the NL West is right now.
I think what's really underrated is that if you're a guy who just shows up out of nowhere and has no hype coming into the league, big leagues, and you play in a team that's, not great like Arizona, is in a division, the NL West, that I don't think, is so dominated by the Giants and the Dodgers and media. It's hard for those other teams to get any attention. You can really fly under the radar. But to be honest, Lamb's kind of an anomaly. I don't really know anyone else who's that good who has been this kind of generally underrated for this long in my mind. I can't really think of anyone who's gone for like 3 years now of being an all-star level player for no one to really, in mainstream media, give him much recognition. I feel like maybe it was his teammate Goldschmidt, his first 3 years as a great player. Yeah,
and speaking of Goldschmidt, third place in NL first base voting, considering he's leading like almost every offensive category as a first baseman. Still can't seem to find that top spot. He's not even close. Ryan Zimmerman and Anthony Rizzo are much higher than him right now. And Joey Votto's another guy who's even lower. Having probably one of his best seasons of his, really impressive career. Yeah, I mean, there's so many names that I think are going to end up being snubs. One guy that's interesting is Marcell Ozuna, who, I think there's a good chance he makes it. He's absolutely torching the ball right now, like hitting homers pretty much every day, and this is a guy with all the talent in the world, but just really seemed like an immature type of player that just could not put anything together. And I feel like people still kind of see him that way. They're like, oh yeah, he's hot, good for him. Nobody's really acknowledging that Ozuna could really be like better than Stanton, and he could be. Like he's right now. Like
that's a bit much.
Well, that's a little
reactionary.
It's
fiery
reactionary.
take.
Okay, well, I mean, Stanton's really upsetting. How he plays like 100 games a year. But Marcell Ozuna is a guy who was very highly touted as one of the most like athletic prospects in like all of the game. But I'm not gonna say that's like completely unreasonable. But I think what Ozuna's doing isn't being taken seriously. Do you guys feel the same way? Like, do you guys see Ozuna's hot streak as just that, or is it like
this is a guy that's been so inconsistent for like 4 years now? I just don't know. I don't know he's a really flabbergasting player, and
that's a new one.
He was sent down to the minors last year. Not even a year ago, he was in the minor leagues. I mean, he's had such a large sample size at this point. It's really hard to commit to him just being this consistently good for a whole year. Even though this seems to be the year of the inconsistent players finally finding consistency, it's going to take me a second half. I mean, he's been great for a whole year before, but he just is a horrifically frustrating player in my mind. It's hard to really conclude anything substantial with him, considering his career so far.
Yeah, for me, Ozuna, he had a good 2014, and 2015 was supposed to be his like coming out year. Like, this is the year that Ozuna is going to really take the league by storm, and he wasn't good in 2015, and he's been inconsistent since. So I think that's why he's flying under the radar when he does have hot streaks, is because he is inconsistent, and everybody kind of gave up on him after that 2015 season in terms of him being a consistently good player. So I think that's why you see Ozuna being so underrated in terms of talent.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, the Stanton thing was really just to get you guys' attention more than anything else, and I definitely did there. So I got that going. But I think it's just the trend here is that players can really change, and sometimes we don't notice until like way too late. Yeah, another guy who kind of did that before was Lorenzo Cain, who really was nothing special until he was, and people just realized, hey, this guy's hitting 300, he's stealing bases all the freaking time, and he's hitting for some power, like 10, 15 home run power now. He's already at that plateau this year, and still stealing the bases, and still hitting. So, Lorenzo Cain, kind of had a down year last year. 2 years ago, really, really good player overall, and people kind of knew that at that point. What do you guys think about Cain as like, where does he rank among outfield? I have so much trouble ranking a guy like this. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
I mean, you're better with like actual rankings, but
I'm not even talking just fantasy baseball, like
I know,
just in general.
But like Cain is he's always been a very solid outfielder in like defense and bat. I mean, exceptional with the glove. I think in Kansas City during their 2 years, 14 and 15, during that run, he wasn't necessarily the face of that team. You had likes of Hosmer, Salvador Perez, Moustakas, and Alex Gordon. Cain was at times like the fifth guy you would think of on that team. So I think that's why he's gone under the radar so much. He's always been a very solid piece.
He never ever took that leap from good to great.
No,
so I think it's easy to get. Like, Michael Brantley is another great example of a guy like this who was incredible for about 2 years. Before that, he was average, and then he got hurt, and no one really cares about him. He's just Michael Brantley, and Cain kind of, to me, falls in that same category of guys. So, like, they're good, and you like them on your team, but they, for whatever reason, injuries, consistency, supporting casts have never been either so consistently good for so many years that it's just impossible to ignore, I'm trying to think of a guy like maybe Joey Votto is like that because Joey Votto's had like maybe 2 incredible years, but past that it's just been good every single year. So it's impossible to ignore that guy. It's just he just puts in work. Or Adrian Gonzalez, another example of a guy who's just every single year they're good. You can't just ignore it. They're just always good. But guys like Cain, it's just it's easier for those guys to fall from the spotlight because they're not stars. They're just good.
So I don't know what you need to see to be considered great. I just don't know.
I would say you have to be an MVP candidate.
Okay,
and
but
Cain will never be on that level.
Is there a problem with that though? Because Cain was arguably the best defensive center fielder in the game for at least a short period of time.
Aren't we talking about why he's not considered a great player? I'm saying why is that?
I'm just talking about all-star caliber even. That's the main.
You don't have to be great to be all-star caliber.
I'm not arguing any of these
he's
guys
all-star caliber.
MVP.
Has he never been an all-star player?
I think he was. Let me see.
I'm
I'm talking about this year even more so.
He plays on a terrible team until this week. That's why no one cared about him making the all-star team.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why we're talking about him because he's underrated. So, I don't know what you take issue with exactly.
I'm not taking issue with anything. I'm just trying to explain from my perspective why it seems to me that he goes under the spotlight. I'm not offended by it. I have nothing against Lorenzo Cain, but I mean, he's always just been Lorenzo Cain. He's never been, he's a tier below, let's say, Mookie Betts, who I would say in a lot of ways categorically is very similar, but in every single category, he's better. In every single way.
This man finished third in MVP voting in 2015, I do want to point out.
So, Lorenzo Cain finished third in MVP voting in 2015?
Yes, sir.
I'm honestly shocked by that.
Behind
Josh
Donaldson, Mike Trout, Lorenzo Cain. And then Manny Machado was behind him there. So
that was also the year that the Royals won the World Series, though, correct?
That doesn't factor, though.
Yeah.
That factors extremely. The
fact that their team made an insane push to get there. That helps. That definitely helps. No, I mean it's not supposed to anyway. I don't know what these voters actually do.
I'm not saying I don't rate Lorenzo Cain highly. I think all of us consider him a great player and one of the best outfielders in the game. I'm just saying why publicly he's not that highly touted. He plays in Kansas City. They were bad this year, and he never took a leap from a very good player to a very great player.
Okay, well the point is he did at one point in his career. So I mean that's the only little. It's the only one point I was trying to make.
You can't deny he wasn't nearly as good last year, and
no, he wasn't. He wasn't.
Have short memories.
That's true. I think that's the biggest issue. Yeah, a couple more names out there. I don't know how much we can talk about all these guys, but Cameron Maybin, we talked about earlier, is still doing really well for the Angels, getting on base a lot. Starlin Castro, I think you mentioned him too. He's hitting, pure and simple. He's not overcomplicating anything. There's no pressure to be a superstar like there was in Chicago. He's just hitting, right? Can we accept that Starlin Castro can hit? Because I feel like a lot of people just are like, oh, he'll never be the star shortstop for the Cubs. Well, yeah, he definitely won't. I think
he still kind of sucks at defense, but yeah, he's definitely one of the better hitting middle infielders in the game, I would say.
Yeah, and sadly now he's a meme who is him laying
truly
in the
immortalized.
Yeah,
I would say that's not sadly. I'd say that's the highest honor you can get. If you can't win the MVP, you might as well win the meme MVP.
Meme VP.
Exactly. Yeah. Now we're talking.
There's some play on words there. I'm just not exactly hitting it on the head right now. All right. Who's Castro? Who put Castro here? Is that Jason Castro of the Twins? No, that's Starlin Castro. What is wrong with me? God damn it!
Well, I was like,
I'm so dumb. Somebody kill me. Oh, I feel like Starlin Castro right now, laying in the outfield. I'm dead. Somebody else say some more names. I need to rethink my entire life right now.
Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson. I don't know. He said say names.
Yeah. Sorry. Jim Johnson's quietly being a closer again and not a piece of garbage like he was the last couple of years. This man's saved back consecutive 50-game seasons. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
For for me,
such a weird career.
yeah. For me about Jim Johnson, it seems like every time he becomes like oh, Jim Johnson's he's starting to be a decent pitcher again, and then he gets like traded or something, like, oh, that's a good trade, and then he sucks wherever he goes. I remember thinking when the Dodgers picked him up a couple years ago, and he was terrible. So I feel like he does a lot better under the radar, and then once he kind of gets thrown into the spotlight of, okay, Jim Johnson is sort of back, and then he just goes back to being bad.
It really shouldn't matter, though, right? I mean, it does, but it really shouldn't. When you're a relief pitcher out there on the mound, you either can get guys out or you can't. I don't think.
Oh, it shouldn't, but that's the weird thing about Jim Johnson is that it seems like since he had those 250 save seasons, is that he pitches better when everybody kind of gives up on him, and then when everybody gives him another fighting chance, he's not very good.
Didn't he forget how to pitch for 2 years, or did I make that up?
No, yeah.
Was he on Oakland for at some point in time and just terrible, or am I
he's
thinking of someone else?
Short stint on the Dodgers, short stint somewhere else too that just did not work.
The Braves.
Well, he's on the Braves now.
He's on the Braves now. Yeah.
He's the Braves closer. I don't know if we made that clear. You're Jose Ramirez. I don't think he's an all-star level player even remotely, but he's a nice relief pitcher turned starter. I always like those.
More he
What?
is.
What?
Jesus
Jose
Christ.
Ramirez.
What's wrong?
Jose Ramirez is
JC Ramirez is not Jose Ramirez today. JC Ramirez
Isn't it JC Romero anyways?
No, it's Ramirez.
There's a JC Ramirez and a JC Romero, actually.
Oh, okay.
We're all correct here.
The names are all jumbled in my head right now.
You're wrong.
Oh my.
Alex Avila is the Detroit Tigers catcher, correct?
Jose Ramirez is an all-star caliber player this year. I have to interject.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Let's talk about this.
I agree with that. Alex Avila is also, in my opinion, he's definitely matched as a catcher.
Why is he good, though?
I don't know, because he was an all-star once, and he's like, hey, that was fun, I'll do it again.
Alex Avila was an all-star once?
He was. He had one
really?
season 2012 or 2013, I think.
For the Tigers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened?
He stopped hitting. He had a stint in Chicago, Chicago White Sox, where he just couldn't put it together, and then he went back to Detroit and was like, I'll try it again. And he
had a bunch of concussions too.
Yeah,
I remember him now. I thought he was a completely different player than that Alex Avila. I
Alex
totally
Avila.
Forgot. It's all coming back to me.
That's some serious deja vu. You should see him play sometime. It really hit you hard then.
I would love to. I think his dad's the GM of the Tigers, actually.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like you need to ask every single time. So Chase Anderson, we're talking about the Milwaukee Brewers starting pitcher, right?
Correct.
Is there another Chase Anderson?
Almost threw a no-hitter, right? You know what?
Yes.
I don't even know anymore. I could be thinking of I don't even know another Anderson.
Brett Anderson.
Garrett Anderson. Is that even a person? It is, right?
Yeah.
So Chase Anderson, I don't know. National League pitching is really weird because there's so many good National League pitchers and so many of them haven't pitched well. Like Jake
He's been pretty
Arrieta.
damn good this year.
Like Jake Arrieta is a guy that should be in that conversation and just isn't. All the Cubs pitchers you could say
I think everybody.
there.
Here's my thoughts on Jake Arrieta. Everybody thinks he should be good, but he had a year and a half of exceptional pitching, and everybody thought, okay,
that's a long time.
That's it.
A year and a half is a long time.
But outside of that, he had shown no real flashes. He had stuff, but then everybody it's basically been almost a full year since he stopped being a really exceptional pitcher, and everybody's Jake Arrieta should still be really good, but he's not necessarily terrible. But this is what kind of pitcher Jake Arrieta projects to be is a above average pitcher, but not an exceptionally great pitcher. He just had a really good run.
Man, I'm buying low on Jake
Yeah,
Arrieta.
fuck him.
Jesus.
I didn't say it, but you did.
Everybody's attacking this man today. It's okay. I don't know who anybody is anymore. This stat game's gonna be really rough. I'm gonna be saying players from 15 years ago. Go ahead and
Leo Jones.
that's gonna be my little transition there. We're gonna play stat game now, and it's gonna be fun. Ray's got us today. Let's see what you got, Ray.
Okay, so today's stat game. It always seems like it follows a little bit of a kind of a theme almost, but it's mostly hey, today is gonna be pitcher stats, and today is gonna be hitting stats. Today, it is players over 30. So all the answers are players who are 30 and above. So no Aaron Judges, no Bryce Harpers, no Cody Bellingers, no guys of that nature. So for the first category of players 30 and up, hitters, who has the out of hitters 30 and up, who has the best BABIP, batting average balls in play?
That isn't. You can sort that on Fangraphs, huh? I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Huh.
I have all these stats on Fangraphs.
Well, obviously Garcia is not 30, so that doesn't help.
Does he even have the highest BABIP in the league? His average isn't even that high
Gotta
anymore.
be insane still. Like, I mean, he was just absolutely destroying them all. I'm going to go and say Ryan Zimmerman.
Oh, that has to be the right answer.
He is third.
Ooh.
That is a very good guess. He's third.
You have hope, Rudy.
Daniel Murphy.
He is eighth, so Uwe gets that point.
Woohoo.
Matt Kemp was first with a 386 BABIP. And Charlie Blackmon is 30 and up. He is second on that list. Cozart
He's already
is fourth.
30? Wow.
Rest
Yeah,
in peace,
Cozart
Fat
is
Kemp.
yeah. Cozart is fourth, and Nick Markakis is fifth.
I love that guy.
So two Braves
Great
outfielders. Buster Posey is seventh. Can you believe Buster Posey's 30 and up?
Yes.
Actually, I do believe that
He's
one.
been around for a while.
long time.
I know he's been around for a while, but it's his face for some reason for me. He doesn't
He's
look.
a young
Well,
looking
he's a
dude.
baby face.
He looks the same as he did.
Yeah,
when
he's
he came in.
a baby face. Yeah. All right. So Uwe gets that point. Next, we go to the pitchers. The lowest home run per 9 rate of pitchers 30 and up.
My guess is Jason Vargas. Sorry, I should let you go first next time.
Well, you just won, so.
Oh, were you going to say Jason Vargas? Rudy?
No.
All right, I don't feel bad then. I'll let you go first, though, the next two.
Okay. Just some other names. Andrew Kashner is second.
Jason
Edson Volk-
Vargas has been that good this year.
He's been really good. I
in
knew
terms
that.
of home runs per 9 isn't necessarily indicative of a.
That guy's weird.
He is. He's a weird face,
yeah.
too. Sorry, Jason Vargas.
Screw him, right?
So
Honestly, so true.
It's just a roast at this point.
yeah. Now
We just hate everyone except for Cody
that
Bellinger,
should be an off-season thing. We should
Turner,
like roast.
Aaron Judge.
That should be an off-season thing we do. Just roast different.
We should have
guys.
the Weirdest Faces podcast starring Wanya Uribe.
Okay, moving on. So hitters. This one's pretty simple. Win probability added. Just straight up hitters win probability added. Rudy, you can go first.
Yeah, you go.
Joey Votto.
Third.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Crap.
That was a really good one. God damn it. It's probably not going to be on a team that's stacked, I'd imagine. Or maybe it is. I just don't know. Mark Reynolds. No, nothing.
Not in the top 30.
Wow, Jesus Christ, he's having a really good year too. Really sad day for Mark Reynolds.
The top guy and the wins probability added stat over 30 is Ryan Zimmerman,
Okay, that I probably should have stuck with that one.
followed by Eric Thames,
All right.
Joey Votto, Charlie Blackmon, and Mitch Moreland round out the top 5.
Mitchie Two Bags, gotta love him.
All right.
Mitchie Two Bags?
Yeah,
Who calls him that?
Red Sox fans. He hits a
Do
lot.
they actually?
He hits a lot of
How
doubles.
would you know
He hits a lot of doubles. I don't know. I know things.
if you say so?
I'm educated somewhat.
Okay, so now we shift back over to the pitchers, 30 and up. Curveball percentage thrown. So out of their pitches, who throws the highest rate of curveballs?
Okay,
Now
so
again, this is Fangraphs. There's a difference between curveball and sliders.
okay, I know that you said the next one, but I mentioned nicknames, and I just feel the need to point out how badly you guys butchered the nickname segment on the last podcast. I just had to throw
That's
that out
valid.
because you missed so many, and I was just thinking of while hearing
We
it back.
acknowledge it in
sadly,
the group
I couldn't
chat.
have been there. I could not have been there for that one, but
not
I really
late.
wish I was.
It was late.
I could have saved you guys.
It was late. It was last minute. We acknowledge it in the group chat. Let's move on.
If only. Okay, pitcher curveball percentage. All
Yeah, he throws the highest rate of curveballs. Like I said, it is Fangraphs. There's a difference between curveball and sliders.
You can go first again if you want, since they've been so rude to you.
This is hard because I don't really honestly know for some of these guys if they are curveball dominant pitchers. Give me a second just
Or
to
if
kind of
they
think.
are 30. There's a minimum innings on this?
It is disqualified.
Okay.
I'm trying to think like who's 30 and like I'm just gonna go with Clay and Richard. I have no idea if that's right. If that's anywhere near the correct answer, or if he's even on the list. But he seems like a guy who throws a lot of off speed and is 30.
He is over 30, but he is not on the curveball percentage list.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna. This is my guess, but obviously, I think Rich Hill would be on this list if he was qualified, but I don't think he is. I don't think Drew Pomeranz is 30, so I'm not gonna guess him. That is interesting, actually. So I just gave you two answers that were very wrong and irrelevant for some reason, but I did it anyway.
Neither of those count.
No, I said before I qualified that neither of these are my guesses, but this was my thought process here. Maybe I'll stick Dodger and say Kenta Maeda. Is he even 30?
Not on the list. I believe he is 30, but he's not on the curveball list.
Okay.
Yes.
So
are
we
we
giving it one more go?
guess?
We're gonna give it one more try?
Give it one more go since you guys both missed. I can give you a hint. I mean,
give it a little hint.
You roasted us on the nicknames, and the top guy is kind of known for it. So
Okay.
I don't know if that gives away too much, but yeah.
Now I'm cycling through my encyclopedia of nicknames in my brain right now. This might take a while.
Rudy, do you fashion your second guess?
I need like 1 minute. I'm just trying to think now that the nicknames kind of got me going. Now I'm like thinking who's 30-year-old pitcher with a great nickname.
I'm saying it's relevant to this stat specifically. That's what I'm saying.
It's relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have someone in mind that you were gonna say first?
Not
you can go.
quite.
That if you already thought of someone, I
This
wouldn't
is
be
great,
offended.
This is great content, by the way.
Oh God, it is. I mean, it really is. This is you really should have been there when we were doing this game before. I mean,
Dude, it used to be way worse. Like infinitely
It
worse.
used to be
Like
unbearable. Yeah, we tried to go until we got the top guy. Oh, actually, it wasn't even always the top guy. It was sometimes like who is fourth in this in this stat. Like Jesus Christ, what is wrong with us?
I'm gonna go with Jeff Samardzija.
He is 20th on the list.
Hey, you
All right,
cracked
I'll
the
take
list.
that.
Goddamn,
I
it's a
cracked
lot
the
of
list.
pressure now. Damn. Let's see. This is not helping. I don't know anybody. Scott Feldman. That's not a good guess.
I think it's a good
Second.
guess, actually.
Second.
Oh my god!
What?
I hate you so much.
So yeah. So in this, I guess it's 3-1 Uwe, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, so he clinched it, but we'll do the other one. But
Who is the top
Adam
guy?
Wainwright is number 1.
Oh yeah.
What
yeah,
nickname does he have?
Wayno?
Uncle Charlie.
Uncle Charlie. Same thing.
I honestly have never
His
heard that.
Twitter
Wayno.
handle is Uncle Charlie.
Okay. People call
Where
him
does that
Wayno,
even
too.
come
That's
from?
kind of a nickname.
I know Wayno is kind of like this, like this short kind of thing, but like
Abbreviated.
Uncle Charlie is like his
His
People
proper
actually call
nickname.
him that?
yeah. Huh?
I'd never heard that. Wow.
That one.
It's his Twitter handle. So
That's one that we should know though. Like Wainwright is a curveball pitcher, and he's old. So.
yeah, 26.1% of his pitches are curveballs.
That's
So,
quite a bit.
Yeah.
All right, give us the last one here. We'll finish.
Okay, so we're gonna finish on hitters over 30s. Home run to fly ball percentage. hitters 30 and up, who has the highest rate of home runs per fly balls?
Is Logan Morrison 30?
I don't believe he is.
Okay. You can go first if you want, Rudy.
I mean, I went first last 2 times. I think.
This category is for shits and giggles because he's already won. So.
Okay, I'll guess Nelson Cruz.
15th.
Okay.
I'll go with Eric Thames.
That is the top guy.
Wow.
So, yes.
Got him. High five.
So Rudy.
Ooh, yeah.
So Rudy finds a silver lining in his loss today by guessing Eric Thames as the top guy in the last stat game.
I am not wholly incompetent. Yes.
Unlike me, I think I've displayed full incompetence on this podcast today.
You were the only one who hadn't yet, so it was bound to make.
I really needed a win after the rest of what happened today.
That's why I let you have this one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it. So yeah, that's gonna do it for our podcast today, though. Great job with Stat Game, Ray. You honestly do better with this than the rest of us. If we could, we'd have you do it every time. But I know.
Yeah, but
we want to let you play. We want everybody to play. So yeah, as always, we really appreciate any feedback you have for us. You can tweet us at WPB_podcast. You can leave comments. You can email us. You can check out our website. We will start to. I promise we will be starting to upload articles there, and they'll be really good. You should check them out there. That's the place where you'll find them. All the links for that are down below. And yeah, so that's gonna do it. Thanks for joining us as always, Rudy.
Peace.